Joe, what is up?
I'm glad we finally pulled this off.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
did. We're
Yeah.
doing it.
Where are you coming from? Where's your hometown?
My hometown's Iowa,
Okay.
well, state, but I'm in Colorado right now.
Oh, cool. What part of Colorado?
In the mountains, Winter Park.
Awesome. Where's
Have
that
you been?
compared? Well, I've been to Denver. I've been to
Yep.
Estes Park. I've been to
hmm
Boulder.
Okay, so Estes Park, we're just on the other side of the Continental Divide from that.
Okay. That's a
But
great.
driving wise, you actually come from Denver and you go up I-70. We're like hour 15, hour and a half, depending on
Yeah.
what part of town. hmm
Boulder, super cool.
Yeah, so it's
Uh,
straight across as the crow flies, but two
yeah.
hours to drive there.
So great. And then Estes Park, amazing. Kind of, they
Yeah.
have the Shining Hotel there or something, the
Oh yeah,
Stanley or something.
totally.
We did a
The
hike tour there.
Stanley, yep.
Stayed in downtown Denver. More homeless people there than in Philly. Yeah, I was amazed. I stayed
When were
downtown
you there?
2 years ago, 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
it's turned. I used to live down there for 15 years and moved to the
Yeah.
mountains in 2019.
Okay.
Totally changed.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
different. Like I was
Bummer.
expecting this, like, because it looks so gorgeous, like outside, like looking around the city, like the city's like surrounded
hmm
by mountains, and the downtown's cool, but there was homeless people everywhere down there.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I moved out in 2003 and just even tw by 2019 it had shifted a lot, but I still go down all the time for my kids lacrosse
Yeah,
and
yeah,
whatnot. And it was cool when I moved out and it's just kind of shifted a little bit. I mean, there's
yeah.
still super cool stuff.
Oh, it's a great city. It's
Yeah,
amazing. Like at night
surprising.
walking around, I'm looking over my shoulder. You
Totally.
feel safer in Philly. Cool. We'll get going and we're just hoping, let's just hit this holistic medicine, performance, energy management,
Yeah.
all that
hmm
stuff you do, right? And I would love
Yeah.
just to tease out just habits, tactics, routines
Yeah.
that the average person, especially the busy person, the mom, the
hmm
dad with kids, working, busy, basic things they could do every
Yeah.
day, where
hmm
after 6 months, they're like, wow, I feel so much better.
Yep.
Does that make
Totally.
sense? Cool, cool.
Absolutely.
And also want to get into, we've had a couple of lifestyle medicine doctors on, and
hmm
I've had people tell me if I don't have a filet mignon every day, I'm crazy. And I have people tell me if I ever eat meat again, I'm crazy. Because like the blue
Yeah,
zones and all
totally.
that, if we can hit all that stuff, that'd be amazing.
Let's do it. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love it. I love the variety. I love your energy. So I know it'll be fun.
Cool. Let's get out. We're getting going.
Totally.
Cool.
Does. Yep.
Let's rock and roll. Let's do this. Here we go. Katie Hardie, welcome to Built Not Board.
Joe, thank you for having me.
Finally pulled this off. Took a couple of weeks, but we made this happen. So cool. Katie, for our listeners who may not be familiar with you and your work, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? I would say I'm a plus five. I have two kids and three dogs, so I got some baggage. And I love to help people who just like really give a shit about having their peak potential, like whether that's physically, professionally, mentally, emotionally, help them figure out how to do that. And how I do that is by collecting a lot of fluids from them: urine, saliva, poop, blood. And I don't personally collect it, but we use that data to really find out what's going on inside each unique person and come up with personalized plans to help expand their energy because that's expandable versus time, which is not. And I really like to teach them how to be more aware of what their body's telling them by combining it with what those metrics are telling us so they know how to drive their own transformation from that point forward.
Wow. I want to get into all that and want to get into energy management, listening to your body, trying to decipher what it's trying to tell you. Maybe we talk some diet, some exercise, some everyday tactics that the busy professional parent who's got a million things going on but wants to stay fit and stay in good fighting shape, what they can do every day to make them just stronger 6 months, a year from now. Does that make sense?
For sure.
Cool, cool. First one. All right. You've been an endurance athlete, corporate professional, mom, dog mom, people mom. When you look back, what's the moment you realize the mainstream health, just treating illnesses instead of trying to stay healthy? When did you make that pivot? When that awareness come to you?
Yeah, so there's been a few moments. So I wouldn't say just one, but it's kind of like you get this little wake up call and you like, get a little bit, and then it's like, well, you don't totally get it. So you keep getting more wake up calls.
Mhm.
But I'd say early on, like I knew, like when I was young, like I was very driven and like self-starter, no problem, like getting motivated to do anything. And I really wanted to excel at things, and I wanted a plan that was for me because I knew I could execute it if I was given something tailored for me. And all the recommendations, I grew up in the 90s in Iowa, it was just kind of like exercise more, eat less. And I was already doing that, but I'm like, that's not dialing in your performance for anything specific, it wasn't tailored. And so I didn't realize at the time that those recommendations were for really when you get to the point of like disease and issues versus optimal performance.
Mm.
But I was like, that's what the recommendations were. So you just kind of eat more processed carbohydrates because they're like eat more grains. So you're eating a lot of cereal and bread and all the things. And that didn't really help my energy, my performance, or anything to the point of actually putting me in a hole with all those things. And then I would say when this was in 2013, I was 8 months along in my pregnancy. And long story short, one night after dinner, no kicks, went to the hospital, no heartbeat. And I've been following all the rules, right? And all of a sudden they're like, sorry, there's a heartbeat and you have to deliver this thing. And I'm like, that sucks. It's like you don't really want an extra C-section or a delivery when there's no prize at the end of it. And I just remember being like, I've done everything right. Why did this happen? And it doesn't guarantee that something's not going to go wrong. It's the recommendations to not be in that disease state. So it was after that I'm like, there has to be something more out there because I grew up very conventionally minded. Everybody in my family is very much that way. I kind of considered everything else a little woo woo and kind of they're idiots because it's not the standard. And that particular situation really opened up my, I guess, vulnerability. It's like you're like on the ground and you're like, I'm down. It's like following the rules didn't guarantee anything. Somebody gifted me a session to a Chinese medicine acupuncturist. I had no idea how that could help, but I'm like, if it can't hurt, why not try it? And could not believe when I left that session just how like uplifted I felt. I felt light. I
Mm.
felt positive. I felt optimistic. And I'm like, we've always poo pooed this. And it is literally the only thing that's giving me hope right now. And so I kind of leaned into that, not like super hard, but to the point of, oh, I don't have to be so close minded that this is the only way. I'm going to be
Mm.
a lot more open minded. And that's really when I was going down the path of let's do PhD in nutrition. And I was like, people don't need more of the same advice telling them to eat more whole grains and pasta and bread. What is that doing for us? Nobody leaves better off because of that. And that's when I kind of went down the road of more holistic nutrition and becoming board certified in holistic nutrition and just understanding a little more, I guess, a different perspective of what our body needs. And that has been a total game changer for my journey as far as, like I said, just opening up my mind that there can be more than one way of looking at things. And holy cow, it actually helped. And that's when I got into understanding what's going on under the hood, hormones wise, gut wise, and how that's so related to overall energy and performance and health. And you don't have to wait to the point of being dysfunctional to take any actions that actually can help you optimize feeling your best, and you don't have to settle. And that's what I felt like a lot of those recommendations and maybe the systems kind of built upon is settling. And I'm not somebody I don't want to settle. I want to be like the best that I have potential to be.
Yeah, we have the highest technology in our country. If
Hmm.
someone got sick, I would not want to be sick in any other country but this country, United
Hmm.
States. We hear healthcare is broken, but I wouldn't trade our broken system for anyone else's broken system, right?
Yeah, when you need an acute situation dealt with, a surgery, like life-saving event, this is where you want to be.
Absolutely. New York, Philly, Boston, Denver, you would be one of those hospitals. But so much of it, people wait and then all of a sudden they get to a point where they got type 2 diabetes, then they're
Hmm.
taking pills. They're doing these acute treatments just to manage the symptoms, but they're not living that holistic, healthy life. You see a lot of low energy, people not sleeping right, maybe not in shape. The average person you see on the street is not in great shape.
Totally.
What do you some of the things the average person can do to, to turn the tables
Yeah.
and not get to that acute event?
I think one of the issues was we are all sold the equation of calories in versus calories out or
Mhm.
equals calories out. And yes, that's a component of the equation. And that totally discounts the role of hormones. And when you are somebody who's trying to manipulate that equation with like that thermogenic approach only, you are easily going to get into this hole from burnout, because if you're trying to work out more, eat less, you can only manipulate those so long before your body starts adapting to that.
Mm.
So when your body's adapting to less intake, more output, and you're not the person who needs a whole bunch of that, even if you are, that's putting your body in the stress state. So your body slows it down. And then when you're in that state of fatigue, back to what you're saying about caffeine, then you're like exhausted. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna, I'll get this artificial source of energy through caffeine. And guess what? Now I'm craving sugar. So that's also an artificial source of energy that's also inflammatory, which then kind of clouds the brain and, makes everything just heavy in your body. You're not sleeping as well. And so it's like you have the uppers during the early part of the day, and then you need the downers to calm it down. And so you get in this cycle of like dopamine hits, and it's not real energy. It's like constantly chasing the next avoidance of the low versus giving your cells the nutrients it's actually asking for to do the job. And like what you're saying with, yeah, you see all these people who claim to exercise, they don't look like it. That's a lot of times the impact of the cortisol dysregulation. And so whether it's just like around the belly or like the whole body, you can be doing the things right on paper, like doing the workouts, but if your body has all these other stressors and it can't handle it, it's just too much. And so it's working harder, not smarter. So you can actually have a much less volume intensive training load and have a much better body composition because you're stressing your body to the capacity it can tolerate and still adequately recover.
Yeah, you mentioned people tired, slamming caffeine, doing some research. Naps, you're a big fan of the naps, right? Naps get such a bad reputation. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, when you fell asleep 10 minutes during the day, it's like a sign of weakness,
Oh, yeah.
right? In the middle of the afternoon, you could have got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, worked at 2. If you fell asleep from 2 to 2:15, people made fun of you if they saw
Mhm.
you. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you falling asleep. Are you weak? Get up, go to work. That nap is I'm just starting to learn this. Like that, like 10-minute nap at 2 o'clock is 10 times better than a great cup of coffee.
Mhm.
It's
That,
crazy.
yeah, and there's two ways you can look at it. One, like you're not actually getting sleep, so it's more of like just an energizing and getting your brain waves in the state that it needs to operate in. Two, though, is why are you getting that energy dip? Because it could be whatever you ate at lunch is causing like a big blood sugar spike and drop, and that can make you feel tired. It could be that your cortisol production is just tanking throughout the day, and you might not have enough left in the tank. So it kind of depends on the person. And that's the thing, everybody's different. So what might be really supportive and boosting of energy for one person could be a signal that their body's not compensating well. And so when we do have inconsistent energy levels throughout the day, that is a red flag, like, hey, something's off a little bit, because you should have pretty stable energy between meals and throughout the day. It should naturally spike in the morning and kind of taper throughout the day. But if you have a big drop where you're like, I can't function, that's different than, hey, this is like a power energizing to keep me steady. So it really
Mhm.
depends on the person. And is it like debilitating fatigue, or is it just, oh, I know that if you're thinking about your day in a series of sprints,
Mhm.
this is my recovery
Mhm.
versus just trying to marathon it all day long. So it can be part of a strategic approach to keep an optimal output. And if you're also needing like a really long afternoon nap, that's also a sign that, hey, your adrenals are smoked. There's something going on that we need to course correct.
Yeah, I like that one saying, life's not a marathon, it's a series of sprints where
Yeah.
like you're sprinting. There's like 4, 5, 6 sprints throughout the day.
Mhm.
And then in between, that recovery is so important, right?
Huge.
Yeah. And then what are some of the ways to manage energy throughout the day? How
Mhm.
can the average person do a better job of that?
Yep. One starts with the night before. So sleep. So under recognized. It's becoming much more recognized in the athletic world. It is one of the least utilized ergogenic aids. It's absolutely free. That is what allows the human growth hormone to kick in. That's what allows your body to repair, recover. It allows your brain processing to take place and everything to set your next day up for success. Then energy management through fuel, having actual nutrients your body's asking for versus like those artificial sources of sugar or energy we were talking about, caffeine, because when we give our body the right types of foods and the right amounts of each type of food for our specific body, it should feel really stable, steady, positive, productive, focused, because energy is, yes, physical, and that's the foundation for your mental capacity, focus, emotional stability. And so it's all important.
You mentioned the right types of foods. So
Mhm.
let's walk through that. Is it like one size fits all? I've had people on the show that said everything's protein, just steak for breakfast, steak for lunch, steak for dinner, and it's just steak, 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 keto, keto, keto. They swear by that. Then I've had other like people with MDs after their names that are
Mhm.
well studied and published. They talk about they never touch meat. It's all plant based. They're
Mhm.
holistic. They're very plant based, and they just say the more plants you eat, the longer you're going to live. What do you think the data says these days? Like, what's a person to believe when you have MDs on both sides espousing completely different algorithms?
They're all right, right?
Yeah.
So how I look at it is we're all different. We all have different needs. Even our own body throughout our life cycle has different needs. If you're an athlete, in theory, you have some sort of cyclical training program that goes with in season, postseason, off season, preseason. And so those demands even change. And so we all come from different genetics. So we have genetic input, and then we have like our actual current lifestyle environment. And so, in my opinion, we all have different types of diets. And I don't mean like going on a diet, but like when I say the word diet, it means the food that you're incorporating into your routine. And so for me, for example, I used to follow the low fat, no fat thing in the 90s
Mhm.
and ate a whole bunch of bread and cereal and lean cuisines and like avoided olive
Crazy.
oil
Yeah.
because in avocados because it was gonna like kill you. And I actually have since then have found I'm more of a protein fat type, and I have no energy dips and like blood sugar spikes and drops. I'm very stable, put on better muscle, but not everybody can eat that way because if they eat that way, they feel heavy or lethargic. And this is the individuality of it because we're not all the same. Don't train for the same types of activities. So why would we
Mhm.
eat the exact same as everybody? So in my opinion, and what I found working with people is when you tailor the diet to that person, it's much more effective than saying, hey, everybody needs to eat the same way.
Mhm.
So the way I eat works for me right now. And as I'm out of balance, I have to adjust what I eat to keep my body more in balance. And sometimes, it just is like listening to your body to understand like 1 to 2 hours after you eat, am I feeling like pretty stable? Do I feel like kind of shaky? Do I feel full but still like something was missing? There's a lot of signals that our
Mhm.
body gives us, but because our friend told us the carnivore diet worked for them, we should do it, and it doesn't work for us. Or a different friend told them vegan worked for them, but that also doesn't work for us. It doesn't mean something's wrong with us. It means that might not be the exact thing that your body's asking for at this moment.
So I say somebody's, I think I agree with you. I think everyone has different nutritional needs. Maybe some people, if they had a steak every day, they'd have a heart attack at 35. Other people could have a steak every day, could live to be 110, right? So it's everyone's a little bit different. How can someone figure out and use maybe some testing or scientific methods to figure out like, all right, what would be my ideal type of diet? How can someone dial that in?
I use something called metabolic typing diet, but it's kind of based upon your ancestral heritage as well as your current reality. And it asks questions about like your physiological nature as well as like your preferences. Because, for example, somebody who's a fast oxidizer, if they have a whole bunch of carbohydrates, especially processed ones, they're going to burn through them too quickly, which
Mhm.
I think most people are going to burn through processed carbohydrates too quickly. That's why they're constantly hungry. On the other hand, we all have digestive capacity that differs. So some of us produce more digestive enzymes to help break down the food. Some people chew their food more than others. Some people are under more stress. If they're under chronic stress, your body's not digesting things well. So your capacity to handle protein and fat is going to vary based upon you, but also like how old are you? That can start to deteriorate with age, but it doesn't have to be a death sentence that it does because how we eat, we can influence just as much as what we eat. So those are some components too, but things to consider. Do you feel really heavy after you eat a meal? Do you feel tired? Do you feel like you need a nap? Those are symptoms that, maybe if you're feeling heavy or just it's sitting heavy, that might be like, oh, that's too much fat or protein for your particular type. On the other hand, if you get a surge of energy and then a big drop after, especially carbohydrates, that's somebody who doesn't tolerate as many of the carbohydrates as well. So it's partly based upon what do you notice about yourself 1 to 2 hours after you eat. So there's a lot that you can just start tuning into to be aware. And you can also take tests. You don't have to take tests, but for a
Mhm.
lot of people, it helps validate what they kind of know. and seeing the results on paper, or like, oh, okay. Or sometimes just encouraging them to try shifting the ratio maybe of the carbs to protein to fats, but also the types. So for example, are you somebody, do you eat chicken or not?
I went 4 years. I had no meat whatsoever,
Yeah.
zero. And actually, I did it because I took one test and the numbers were a little high cholesterol. And I was working with someone and I did 4 years, nothing. It dropped a little bit, but not as much as you thought it would drop. Like not
Mhm.
having any meat whatsoever, just ate fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, the diet where everyone made fun of me how healthy I ate. And it dropped a little bit, but not much. And it was still technically like high, like my number, like cholesterol numbers were high. Then
Mhm.
after like 4 years, I had a doc basically said, your numbers are high enough that you could go like on a low dose statin, right? So
Mhm.
before we do that, I have a really good doctor down in an academic medical center in Philly. He's like, let's give you a CT scan. I want to see what's going on in your heart. I want to treat a disease, not a number. So I went into the tube. He did the scan, the heart disease
Calcium
number.
score.
Yep, zero. Like there was
Hmm.
not a trace of anything with heart. And he's like, I'm not putting you on anything. You have no heart disease going on.
Hmm.
So like the number's high, but there's no heart disease.
Yeah.
So then I went to Italy after I heard that, and I just crumbled. There was chicken
You went
cutlets.
nuts.
Oh, I went nuts. I just crumbled. We went there. We had took my family and I went to Italy, and I saw chicken cutlets, and that's like my favorite food of all time. And then I threw chicken back in the diet. So I don't eat red meat. I don't eat steaks anymore, but I do like a lot of seafood and a lot of chicken. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, but yep, in that, and I'll tangent off your tangent. Did they look at the ratios of the like HDL, LDL, triglycerides, total cholesterol? Did they do the advanced lipid profile with the particle numbers and sizes? Do you know?
Yeah, they like the LP little a stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did, and he was fine with it. He was fine to the point where he says, "See you next year. You're good. You're not going on anything."
because that's more important than your overall cholesterol numbers. Like, how's it all balanced? Like, is the
Mhm.
good stuff sweeping out the bad stuff? And, is your body like clearing what it needs to? And that's a thing that, now that we have statins, all of a sudden our number that we look at for cholesterol has dropped.
Mhm.
And what actually can be worse of a problem for a lot of people is having too low total cholesterol. So, from
Mhm.
a functional lens perspective, we like 170 to 200 is like the super sweet spot, because if
Mhm.
it's too low, what is cholesterol? It's the backbone for all your steroidal hormones. So cortisol, DHEA, which is repair, recover, which testosterone, estradiol, all that stuff needs cholesterol. So if you
Mhm.
don't have that, you're going to have a deficiency of those components that are extremely important. We need our hormones. And part of that, we got conditioned for a little bit of it, but we all have natural tendencies on what fits better for our body. So you're probably somebody who likes a little bit lower purines, like the lighter poultry, and maybe not as much of like the organ meat or red meat,
Yeah,
things
it's
like
not,
that.
not my call. Yeah,
And for me, like in like you do like eggs or
yeah,
like,
sure, I love it. Yeah.
and that's like super good for me. If I just have those, I'm like, I'll have 2,000 calories. Like, you put a full plate, but I'll still feel like something was missing.
Mhm.
I need more of the dense stuff. I need the red meat. I need
Mhm.
like organs are actually really good for my type, because it's, if I don't have that density with it,
Mhm.
it's like you can have all the right calories on paper, but it still feels like something's missing and I'm hungry,
Mhm.
even though you got the number of calories you're supposed to get. So it's kind of like what sustains your energy. So if I have like the chicken thighs, I will feel really stable for like 4 to 6 hours. But chicken breasts, I would want to add a little avocado or olive oil or
Mhm.
something to kind of boost it a
Yeah.
bit to sustain that energy, because I'll burn through that too fast and be like, all right, now what?
Is that like a feeling, or is that something you just know intuitively, or is that something you could back into with it, like some sort of test or blood test?
Yeah, so this is like the one test I do that doesn't pull fluids. And I also pair it with the feedback people give me with how they feel after meals. Cause,
Mhm.
again, it's not like measuring an actual fluid, but it gives like a really good starting point.
Yeah.
And so it's like once you kind of know the type you are from this like really long test, then it's kind of like tweaking it, fine tuning it. And people, most women, a lot of women I work with just snack. They don't have like an
Yeah.
actual meal. And
Yeah.
then they're
Sure.
like constantly grazing and they're constantly keeping the insulin levels up. They're constantly storing energy as weight instead of like get a meal so you don't need to eat till the next meal. And so it
Mhm.
helps people visually see like, oh, this is what we're talking about. So it's not as like hardcore science as like the other stuff that I would do, but it's so effective for helping people manage their energy levels throughout the day. And that's been
Mhm.
such a game changer for so many people. It's like, oh, I can actually feel really solid energy. I get that protein or get like the real food I need earlier in the day. And then I don't have those cravings later. I don't have the energy dips later. And then they start burning through their fat stores. So I use that. even though it's like not as like cool of a test maybe as the other ones, but it's like so important for them to just kind of like, how do I build my plate when I go out to a restaurant or make something at home?
Mhm.
And if I have family members that have different way of eating, we can all enjoy the same foods just in different ratios and we're all good.
When you say there's certain foods you eat, you feel energized afterwards, right?
Hmm.
Like if we go get sushi, like edamame sushi, I always get brown rice, like sushi with brown. I feel like I just had a cup of coffee when I'm done.
Hmm.
Like I it just my body loves that. Like I
Yeah.
love that, and I'm like I'm just energized after that. Or like some like grilled chicken with like peppers or something
Yeah.
like that. Like just energized. Like it's
Yeah.
like I had coffee even though I just drank water with the meal. I could see where you're saying where there's certain things, but if I have like a lot of carbs, I die.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a carb guy. Like I'll just want to take a nap. If you give me like some white breads, like if I eat a roll or something, which I never do, but if I have like a bread and butter at a restaurant, I feel that like an hour later. Like even if does that make sense?
Oh, totally. And then you're hungry sooner,
Absolutely.
probably
Oh,
after that.
100%. Oh, 100%. You mentioned eggs. This is a really like a specific question. Egg yolks with the eggs, egg white. Yeah, back in the 80s or 90s, remember it
All
was all
right.
egg whites because the
Uh-huh.
yolks were cholesterol, you have a
Yeah,
heart
yeah.
attack. Are you with the yolks, no yolks? What's the story there?
As nature makes it, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Because each part has different benefits. So the white has more of the protein, the yolk has more of the choline and the brain benefits. And together, obviously this is like sensitivities aside. Some people can be reactive to one part, not the other, but nature made things in a certain way. And I think our bodies are generally designed to have those things. They recognize them. And, that whole cholesterol argument that was debunked. And if you don't intake it dietarily, your body will produce more. So it's like shrimp was in that thing, remember when they're like, oh, don't have shrimp or egg yolks, that'll raise your cholesterol. It doesn't. Your body will compensate because it needs the cholesterol, as we talked about, for the steroidal hormones. And
Mhm.
that's why if you just get real food, the bigger issue is the processed foods. So I don't care if people are carnivore or vegan, great, it's real food, but you can eat junk food vegan. Like you probably know this from it.
Yeah.
Like you can get
Twinkies, freaking vegan.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Twinkies or French fries are vegan. You know what I mean? Like, so the processed stuff
Hmm.
still, that's the stuff
Yeah.
that's going to crush you long term
It's
doing the process.
inflammatory. It doesn't have actual nutrients. It's just empty calories. So it leaves
Mhm.
your body wanting more. And that's
Mhm.
where people overeat. When you're giving your body the actual nutrients it needs, it's good. You don't
Mhm.
have cravings. You don't eat more than your body needs. Nobody's getting obese with steak broccoli.
Mhm.
Like you
Yeah,
get full after a certain amount of protein. You just like, you're like, I'm good with a certain amount of fiber or
yeah.
vegetables. It's the breads, it's the pastas, it's the cereals, it's the things like Doritos that are made to be highly addictive and don't satiate your stomach to give it like, oh, I've got that full, that satisfied radar hit.
Those processed things are like the perfect storm. They're crunchy, they're
Oh yeah.
salty, they taste good, and like they're addictive. Like it's meant for you to have 15 of them, right? And
Mhm.
it's
They
like,
nailed it.
and they nail it. You can't stop eating them when you have two or three, right? Like it's just, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
How about this lab? Say the average person's like, you know what? I'm maybe 15, 20 pounds overweight. I'm not in horrible shape, but I'm not in great shape. I'm working a lot, kids running them all over on the weekends, maybe work out once a week, twice a week, but I'm still not in amazing shape. I want to get some labs done. What would you
Mhm.
recommend the average person start with? What's the first lab or two that they should get and the actions they should take from it?
If they're overweight a little bit, like,
The
yeah,
average person walking around the mall, and you saw
totally.
if there's still malls, you walk around the mall and you see somebody walking around outside on the street. What's the average person if they want to get their game going? What should they look
Probably
into?
the one thing that they don't typically have tested that I would say is fasting insulin.
Okay.
Have you had that done?
I have the fasting. You know what? I've had the blood draw
Fasting
with the
glucose.
yeah, the HB1C. Is that
Hmm.
what it is? Okay.
So it's different. So fasting insulin is so insulin's what keeps your blood sugar looking good. So
Okay.
it's working in the background. When your fasting insulin's high, your body's shuttling energy into fat for storage. You will not lose fat, body fat. So if that's a goal, and if you have higher fasting insulin, that's an inflammatory marker. So
Mhm.
it's gonna like check all the boxes. So you can have your fasting blood sugar, your fasting glucose look totally in range when your fasting insulin is high. And that's because if you have sugar in your bloodstream, that's damaging to your blood vessels. and it ages you. It's not good. And so your body's mechanism, protective mechanism, is let's shuttle that extra sugar into muscles or liver. If you're an athlete trying to build muscle, like you can use that to your advantage. And when you're active, that can go to help your muscles repair. However, the average American, as we've talked about, does not need more, does not like have the energy expenditure where that's what's happening. That extra sugar is getting shuttled to fat for storage. And
Mhm.
so you're either storing or pulling, but you can't do both at the same time. So if your insulin's high, it's going to be extremely difficult to lose weight or body fat if that's more like a body composition goal. So
Mhm.
that's something that typically is not done with standard lab testing. Ask your doctor to just add it. Like, if you have insurance, is that going to cover it? It shouldn't be expensive, but sometimes things are. And
Yeah.
so that is very indicative of what your metabolic health situation is. And if that, so functional range, we would want that 2 to 6. If
Mhm.
it's over 6, you're in that inflammatory state. Like
Mhm.
a single marker, everybody could ask to just like add, just do that.
And start there. That's probably to start. Let's go to intermittent fasting. Do you do it? I've been experimenting with like 16 hours a day. I never go
Mhm.
through like days without eating. I've never done that. But I try to stop eating roughly around 7 o'clock. And then I'll eat again around 11:30 the next day. I give my
Yeah.
body 16 hours. It was hard for the first 2, 3 days, especially being grown up Italian in Philly and everyone's just eating the whole time. But 16 hours is like I can do it without even thinking. It feels
Yeah.
weird eating before the 16-hour mark. Your thoughts? Intermittent fasting, good? What's your experience tell you?
So it totally depends on the person, what kind of stress is their body under, because training, like physically training, like jujitsu, weight training, that's a stressor on our body. And that's what we're intending to do to have the adaptations to be stronger, to be faster right now. But
Mhm.
if you're under chronic stress and you do that day after day without appropriate recovery, that becomes a greater stressor where you're actually getting weaker. So if
Mhm.
somebody's under chronic stress, the fasting or intermittent time restricted eating, depending on how long it is or what time of the day is, could be too much and then affect those stress hormones, which then actually add to the fat storage. Now, for most people, I think most Americans graze. So they're just eating too frequently throughout the day, and they're also eating too many hours of the day. So I think it
Mhm.
provides awesome awareness. I think people can have awesome results from it, and men tend to have even better results than women, but it also
Mhm.
depends. Is it a woman who's postmenopausal? Is it somebody who's in reproductive age? What is their training load? How much do they need to get in their body to recover from their training session? So it really depends. It doesn't have to be like we make everything all or none, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm either doing it every day or I'm doing it 0 days. It's okay to like just, skip dinner one day a week. That can have a huge positive impact on somebody. And so when you talked about like what hours, what are you doing from like when you wake up till lunchtime? What are you doing from lunch till dinner? What are you doing after dinner?
Mhm.
So I like to think about what is the fuel your body needs to do those activities. Most people don't do much after dinner. So if they're going to have a fasting window, I'd say skip dinner.
Mhm.
Like that's going to have more metabolic positive impact as far as burning fat, but then in the morning, giving your body the fuel it needs to push hard if you're going to do a training session. But it depends what time of the day people do those things.
So maybe you could even skip the dinner. So you eat at lunch, then you skip the dinner, then you do the 16 hours, but then you eat breakfast then when you wake up the
Totally.
next day.
That can have a
Yeah.
totally different impact on somebody. And what do most people do at night that they don't do in the morning? They drink.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep.
for people who are getting excess energy and then congesting their liver, and when their liver's all congested, you're going to metabolize things more slowly and
Mhm.
inefficiently. That also promotes fat storage. It makes it so there's like one less opportunity for that. Now, it's not socially as acceptable. It's more socially acceptable to just like pound coffee all morning. But what is that? Back to what we first talked about. That's artificial source of energy, right?
Mhm.
Your body wants to be told it's safe early in the day, and then it can freely use up the energy that it has. But the longer it gets that, the more it's like, ooh, we better hang on to this. Let's slow it down. And so it depends on the goal for the person. So there can be absolute benefit in a lot of different ways of it looking that way. So when you're thinking about like your day, yes, it's easier for people to skip breakfast because there's so many drinks and whatnot available. And if the goal is primarily metabolic, I would say skip Monday dinner.
That's a great idea. Let's
Just
do
something
those.
different. Just notice how
Yeah.
your body responds. Because, see,
Yeah.
everybody's different. And this is where
Yeah.
I get to we are all different people. We all have different needs. We all have different reactions. And I think it's really important to respect that. And that's
Yeah.
where our guidelines for the masses miss the mark there because it's not as efficient to do all these, individualized protocols. But that is what our medicine used to be. It used to be all individualized. And
Yeah.
now we're trying to like mass produce everything. Just, it's cheaper, it's faster, but it doesn't get the results high achievers necessarily want.
How about this protein? There's a funny meme, and it's so true. There's a meme I saw on Instagram. It said, I am under more pressure now to eat protein than I was in the 90s to take drugs. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like there's more peer pressure to do protein now in 2026 than to take drugs when I was in college in the mid 90s. Protein, right? I know the food pyramid's a mess, but what portion of someone's diet should be protein?
I'm gonna have a little nuance first. One, when I say protein, I mean like real protein. I don't mean like protein shake, powders, anything. I mean like real food protein.
Okay.
It's
Chicken, salmon, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, eat
Okay.
beans. If people
Yeah.
don't eat meat, like legumes, beans, those all have
Right.
protein. And
Yeah.
like combining different combos, you probably had to do all sorts of that.
Yeah.
That's important to get a real food source because the other is also part of that kind of like fake energy. And yes, I'm totally good like using that in a jam. Sometimes something's better than nothing, but a lot of people go to those sources as source A instead of source B or C. So starting with actual protein, but back to, like we're all a little bit different. Some people, it might be more like 15-20% of their plate. Other
Mhm.
people, it might be more like 40 to 50%. I still think a variety of everything. Like, I don't like to exclude an entire food group or macro because I think that's each thing going to extreme. Now, each person might have excess or deficiencies in certain things. And so then you compensate for that, right? But somebody who's very active is going to need a little bit more protein. However, I will also say as we age, our protein needs actually increase because our body is in more of a breakdown or a catabolic state. And so you need to like compensate for that. And when do people tend to eat less
Mhm.
protein? As they get older, right? And
Yep.
so that's why you see people losing a ton of muscle mass
Yeah.
and being frail, and then they lose their balance, and then
Yeah.
that's, game
Mess.
over. And
Yeah.
so for protein, the concepts that I like from the protein centric approach is crowd out the junk, right? Because if you're thinking about back to the Doritos or the Twinkies, where's the protein? There isn't, right? And so if you start with protein, it doesn't mean you end there too, but if you start with it, then like we add a veggie, maybe a starch, depending on, how somebody's eating, it crowds out the space for the processed junky stuff that's just empty, right? And so, yes, I think protein is really important. It's the building blocks for all of our hormones, for our muscle repair recovery, for our immune cells, for everything. So you need all the essential amino acids for your body to function. And we need other things too. You do need some carbohydrates. You do need the healthy fats, to protect your brains and your cells and replenish your glycogen stores. So the ratios of all those kind of depend on the person.
You mentioned protein powder. I was shopping in Whole Foods the other day, and there's so many protein powders. There's vegan protein powders, there's whey protein powders, there's so much. Are you saying would you consider that processed or would you consider that like a good source of protein?
I
What do you-
consider that process like choice B or C.
Really? Okay.
Hmm.
So if someone started their day, let's just say there's someone thinks they're doing a great thing in the morning where they're taking 20 grams of protein with like an expensive protein powder and almond milk, and they're drinking that. You're saying not an ideal way to start the day for their protein source?
I'd say, what's the alternative, right? Is the alternative like some scrambled eggs and some like kale and some sauerkraut or sausages or whatever you like, where you're getting pre and probiotics, you're getting all, like warm food. Because from an Eastern medicine perspective, cold raw is very damp and is like, it shuts the digestive system down. And a lot of people are bloated with those things. They
With
eat them
what?
all bloated
With
with cold and raw foods. So
okay.
smoothies, shakes, just raw veggies, raw salads, and eating those same things, not like a shake, but like eating like cooked greens versus raw greens or cooked vegetables versus raw, that has a very different energetic impact on your stomach. So, for example, I do this spring and fall cleanse challenge every year. It's 3 weeks long, and we focus on what to eat, the inflammatory things to cut out, and basically it's a lot of liver supporting foods, so grapefruit and beets, and then whatever proteins people eat, they get points for cruciferous veggies like broccoli, kale, cauliflower, dark leafy greens. And the things that I'll give them points for not doing are like processed foods, even gluten. Like we'll cut out gluten, but even gluten-free crackers, gluten-free bread, just because it really increases people's awareness to how often they have things out of bags, boxes, and cans.
Okay.
And people are shocked with, oh my gosh, like I actually eat bars and protein shakes all the time because somebody was like, I don't feel like I'm hitting my protein needs. And I'm like, we're literally eating meat and veggies, like it couldn't get more protein focused if you wanted.
Mm.
And I was like, so what sources of protein do you feel like you're lacking on? And she's like, I just realized that most of my protein comes from shakes, from bars, and all the things that we're like, all right, it's not saying never eat them, but during the cleanse challenge, we're really
Mm.
cleaning it up. And she shifted. And so that was kind of like she felt like she was getting too little because she was just cutting that out without adding the actual like real protein.
Mhm.
And once she did, she's like, oh my God, like my energy, my body composition, everything just transformed. She's like, my bloat went away. Like all these people didn't realize they had bloat till it was gone. And when you like constantly, every day, multiple meals a day, have those processed foods, that's what you're marinating in. Like your body's marinating in that, and that's all it knows. And then when it gets a little shift away from it, you're like, oh, this is what it could feel like. But you don't know what you don't know. And you normalize your experience because that's what you're familiar with. So it's like a really huge opportunity for increased awareness and then like kind of learning like some very basic, quick kitchen skills because it's super quick and easy to make these things. But they're like, I just didn't know because all those things are marketed to be like so healthy and like
Mhm.
covering all the things.
Yeah.
But nobody's marketing the things that don't have nutrition labels, right? Like the
Yeah.
farmers aren't out there like
Yeah.
talking about all the amino acids that they got in their steak.
It's not big broccoli. Like big
Yeah.
broccoli is not a big like. There's no one's like pushing broccoli, or no one's pushing like salmon. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. Like I'm 50. I do jujitsu 3, 4 times a week. We lift. We go to yoga. We run. We bike. We're real active, right? So like, can someone in their 50s that's grinding every day with 3 kids, can you get enough protein through natural sources, or do you think it needs to be supplemented
Oh, you can totally get enough. Mm-hmm.
through natural sources?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. It takes paying attention and
Mhm.
like planning. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. So what's great about the bars and the shakes, you don't have to plan anything. It's
Yeah.
just there. It's the awareness and the planning, thinking ahead. So just like you would block off time in your calendar for a Zoom call or a meeting, block off 20 minutes to go to the grocery store. Block off 30 minutes to like make a meal like 2 times a week,
Hmm.
but make extras of it. Like there's things you can do like that
Hmm.
are extremely impactful. It's just kind of like, oh, do I have real estate claimed on my calendar for it? Because if you don't, not going to happen.
If you don't put it on your calendar, it doesn't happen. Yeah, the
Yeah.
to-do list so worthless. That to-do list has to be in your calendar, and you got to protect the calendar
Hmm.
and execute on the calendar. So
Hmm.
true. Some random stuff. Weightlifting, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
How many times a week? What's it good to keep someone strong, joints, in the game?
Yeah, so I look at it as like how many times are you hitting the body part and how deep are you going with it?
Mm.
So it could be twice a week, if you're like going kind of like bigger volume or heavier, it could be 3 times a week. Personally, my schedule is different now than before. I used to lift more times a week, but separate out the body parts.
Mm.
Right now, I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday lifting, full body.
Full body. I love the
Yeah,
full body one. I don't know because I can't get to the gym 7 times a week to hit every body
totally.
part, but I can hit it twice. Like I can go
Yeah.
twice a week, no
Hmm.
problem, and work
Yeah.
out pretty hard when I'm
Yeah.
really tired and I
Hmm.
leave and I feel good. But I'm like, oh, I just hit arms this week because I skipped the next 3. Like,
Hmm.
is that the total body workout's still
Yeah.
in the game, right? That's
Yeah.
still a move.
It's working for me. I'm
Yeah.
45. I feel like I'm pretty cut for,
Yeah, yeah,
me and
absolutely.
doing all the things I want to do. So
I'm hitting some random stuff here because I get a
hit
lot of
it.
questions with this. Mouth taping,
Oh
so
my God.
much. Hit me with
I'm
this.
glad you asked. Okay, because I was always like very like, I'm not a mouth breather. I don't need
Yeah.
it, but other people might. But I got this mouth guard a couple years ago to like not grind my teeth
Hmm.
because I would do that.
Yeah.
And so I was like messing up my gums. And so anyway, I got introduced to this mouth tape because I heard somebody saying that they were kind of opposed to like
Yeah.
trying it because it seemed too trendy and I was
Yeah.
kind of in the same way. And I was like, you know what? Since I got this mouth guard, like I
Mhm.
felt like I was consciously staying awake to keep my mouth shut so like
Yeah.
spiders didn't like crawl in at night. And so I got some. Can you see this? It's like an I or
Yeah,
H
yeah.
shape.
Yep,
So
the
it's
H's.
like it covers less of like your mouth. So sometimes people feel a little claustrophobic with it.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I didn't wake up. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't wake up to, like, I don't move at night. Like, I used to wake up to go to the bathroom, but it was because my brain wasn't totally turning off
Yeah.
with trying to keep my jaw shut, but
Yeah.
because of that thing in my mouth. But now that I have the mouth tape, it's like I used to sleep. I wake up in the same spot that
Yeah.
I went to bed, and I'm not waking up to go to the bathroom. So I don't think I normally was a mouth breather. It's just that thing in my mouth was opening it too much. So I think a lot of people could surprisingly benefit from it. And do you know why that works? Like why nose breathing is so important? So it's the stress hormones. An hour of mouth breathing basically just shifts your stress hormones to a place of fight or flight.
Right.
And so you're not going to be able to rest and digest when you're in that state. So it's like, have you heard of Nestor's book, Breathe? That's, basically as much as you can breathe through your nose. And sometimes people have, deviated septums or reasons they can't, but it's so important to look into that because also our mouth shape, just like as we've evolved, have gotten smaller. So it affects our airways.
Yeah.
And you want to be really efficient breathing through your nose in general to keep those stress hormones at bay. It also warms it up. It's just the way, it opens the vessels. Everything just works better through your nose is a super simplified way to say it.
Yeah.
But particularly at night when you're supposed to be resting, like you don't want to be in fight mode when you're
Yeah.
trying to recover because you're not going to repair and recover anything.
Yeah.
So whatever
So,
it takes to sleep.
yeah. So a couple years back, I took my kid to the dentist for braces, right? And they're getting braces, and the orthodontist, great salesperson, she's like, "Smile for me, smile. I got to fix them. I got to fix them." And after like six times, she told me that, so I get the Invisalign. So I get the mouth guard. I'm not grinding my teeth anymore. It's a great advantage of getting Invisalign because you sleep with a retainer. But then after that, I keep hearing this mouth breathing stuff. So
Yeah.
I tried hostage tape. Have you heard
Okay.
of it's a little like a
Yeah.
black thing across your mouth? And I am with you. I didn't believe in it at first, thought it was a gimmick. I do not move from the place where I fall asleep. I rarely wake up at night, and it's like anesthesia with the mouth
Yeah.
taping. Yeah, every now and
Is
then I'll wake up and rip it off. I'm having a
yeah.
dream that like someone's grabbing like every now and then I'll wake up and it's ripped off. Must do it in my sleep, but like 90% of the time I am sleeping through the night
Yeah.
and I'm in the exact spot where I fell asleep.
Oh,
It's
my
crazy.
HRV went up by like 60%.
Crazy. So effective.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You think for men and women too, like it's good for both sexes.
To me, there's no downside. Why not try it?
Okay.
If it can't harm you, because this thing, it's like not covering your whole mouth.
Yeah.
Like you can
Okay.
put it either way. And like you said, you'll tear it off if you need to. You're not gonna like suffocate or anything.
Yeah.
It's tape. It's not like
Yeah.
sewing it shut. And so sometimes the reason we grind our teeth is because our mouth is, too small. And so we're not getting the oxygen, which is
Hmm.
like another way that our body's like, stress,
Yeah.
let's try to get more. So I'd say if it can't harm you, why not try it?
That's one of those simple things you can do. The
Yeah,
average person, and it might have a lot of benefit, right? Well,
totally.
also too, you meant supplements. Where are you with them?
So your body has to be in a state it can receive them for them to work. Same with nutrition. If you're in fight or flight and you're just like totally dysregulated, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You can't out supplement that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And supplements can absolutely support things that your body isn't naturally doing, it's deficient in. I like to think of supplements as like the pinky on your body versus like your legs. I want to teach people how to optimize their nervous system, their recovery, all the things that they can be in control of. So your body's most effectively operating where it doesn't need as many of the band-aids. And band-aids can be really effective for increasing our sleep or our motivation to do the things or for a period of time, or once you get to the point your body's not doing it for whatever reason. The fewer the better ideally, but and our soil's so depleted right now that
Yeah.
even if you're eating great, you're not getting all the minerals that your body needs. So I do like minerals, and a lot of people's like methylation and detoxification is subpar because of all the toxins in the environment. So usually our livers can use a little support. So
Yeah.
I like to do food first as much as possible, lifestyle
Yeah.
first as much as possible. Like to me,
Yeah.
that's 90% of it.
Yeah.
95%.
How about like the omega 3s? You see a
Yeah,
lot of stuff with the fish oil pills. You
totally.
like, don't like? What do you think?
So they're anti-inflammatory. So back
Yeah.
when we're talking about cholesterol and lipids and all that,
Yep.
when you have higher inflammation, you can get stickier blood or more blockages. So you can have higher cardiovascular risk. Nobody wants a heart attack or stroke. It helps thin the blood. It helps just keep you less inflamed. And if you have great sources of seafood, that's awesome. And a lot of people don't or don't eat it. And it can help brain health, protective of like for kids in sports, like contact sports for concussions. It
Yeah.
can preventatively help buffer any negative side effects of concussions. So, yeah.
Love it, love it. Last thing, did you ever hear the rucksack? Did you ever hear
Yeah.
the way? Yeah, we got my youngest daughter a dog, turned into our dog. We're doing most of the work, but like so, we had the dog's got a bit walked, and I'm like, all right. I was walking with the dog. I'm like, I need spend like an hour or so a day walking the dog. I go, I
Yeah.
need to make this a little bit more impactful. So I bought a weighted vest, right? So I'm throwing like 30 pounds on, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and it feels like a workout. You work like two
Oh, yeah.
miles with like a 30-pound weighted vest. What are your thoughts on weighted vests?
You said it. It's like a workout, right?
Yeah.
So, like with any workout, what do we need after the workout?
Yeah, you got recovery, right?
Yeah. So, like with anything, do you max your squats or your bench press
Okay,
Monday,
so
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
gosh, so I do a lot of dumbbells. So I'm doing a lot of like moderate weight
Yeah.
with multiple reps,
Hmm.
and then like a lot of jujitsu and yoga. My wife and
Yeah.
I are there's a great hot yoga studio by our
Ooh.
house, so we're doing like hot yoga 2, 3 times a week for like
Mhm.
75-minute flows. So like that's kind of like our jam with like
Yeah.
rucks, like rocking, like yoga, jujitsu, and some
Yeah.
dumbbells. That's kind of like
Cool.
our jam, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, I'd say it's awesome. And when do you recover?
So recover meaning sleep or eat. What do we
All
mean?
the things. So, yes, sleep is part of recovery, but when do you give your muscles a break from impact?
Yeah, great question. There's definitely a night or two, like with jujitsu. I can't do jujitsu every day. So, like, yoga would be my recovery from jujitsu
Hmm.
because no one's trying to kill me in yoga,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, no one's trying to stroke me unconscious in yoga, at least not yet. And then, like, maybe there might be a day I do nothing, then the next day I lift and
Yeah.
I go back to jujitsu, I do
Yeah.
yoga. Like, it's stuff like it's one thing a day, if that makes any
Totally.
sense.
So the biggest thing is like that your body feels like it's not intense
Okay.
7 days a week,
Yeah,
and that oscillation. So it's kind of like with sprints, right? You don't sprint 7 days a week.
makes
You
sense.
don't sprint more than like really 10, 20 seconds because then it's not actually a sprint. You
Yeah.
recover in between. So kind of looking at your week, because I used to overtrain, big time overtrain. And as soon as I started doing less volume, but more intensity,
Yeah.
like I could do more pull-ups, I could sprint
Love it.
faster, like the output's higher because you're getting a variety and you're giving your muscles a chance to actually come back together, repair, get stronger, get faster. And
Yeah.
so it's all of it, right? So do some days with the weighted vest, but like I wouldn't have that be your recovery day because like
Yeah.
you said, it's a workout. It's totally a
Yeah.
workout.
I love that. It's a less volume, more intense. So maybe it's better to lift 2 times a week if you crush the body parts, like a total body workout where you're spent
Yeah.
separated by 2, 3 days, right?
Yeah.
And that might be better than just trying to do something every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
So like have it hard enough where you're sore the next day and you're not
Yeah,
like interested or
yeah,
entertained at all by doing it. Then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go for like a chill walk
yeah,
or do like a chill yoga. But you know how our culture is like sometimes we're like, oh, we're gonna power yoga it
yeah,
with weights and
yeah,
heat. Well, that's
yeah,
not a recovery either.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still work out.
This total note I took 20 minutes ago, crowd out the junk. Kind of like you
Yeah.
just put so much positivity either with the people around you or the food on your plate that you crowd out the bad stuff.
Yeah.
That
Focus on where
is
you want to go.
that's so good. We talk about fasting. We hit that real food, less volume, more intensity, weighted vest. How about anything we didn't cover that you think? And also to sleep, the ultimate PED, performance enhancing drug is sleep, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do better than that, right?
Oh yeah.
Is anything we missed? Anything that's in your wheelhouse that you know what we didn't get to?
I think it really just depends on the person's goals, or
Yeah.
like they wanting to take out a tidbit from today, or you want to really dig deeper because you can really like dig into your biometrics, like the
Hmm.
blood, urine, stool, saliva,
Yeah.
all that tells us a lot. So it's doing the little things that we talked about consistently day after
Okay.
day. The things that are important to you, have your calendar and your credit card represent that.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you spend your money? How do you spend your
Hmm.
time? That shows you who you
Yeah.
are. Now, if somebody is interested in getting, you know what, I want these tests. I want the blood, the poop. I want all the stuff measured. What's a good way to do that? What's their entry level? If they're totally in the traditional medicine, wait until they get
Yeah.
sick, till they go to the doctor. Like,
Right,
no,
right.
I would love to see what all these tests say about
Hmm.
me. Where do
Yeah.
they go?
My website's mypeak365.com. And if people are like, hey, I actually want to like start playing with some of those real proteins in the kitchen and maybe crowd out some, maybe not all the protein shakes, but maybe a couple times a week just to see how that feels. I have a 10-minute shopping list because I know like shopping can feel like a big barrier to people. Food prep can feel like a total big barrier to people. And that can be
Mhm.
why people don't do it. And that's how I used to be. But if you go to mypeak365.com/shopping list. I have a 10-minute shopping list. You're in and out of the store in 10 minutes. And then I have 3 corresponding recipes. Like they're super quick.
Love it.
And that can just like, all right, let's just try one thing, because
Yeah.
it's all about like, rather than, oh, I've got like this whole new cookbook, just start with one recipe or
Yeah.
start with one trip to the grocery store that doesn't take all afternoon. It doesn't need to take your time, but if you focus your energy on the most impactful areas, it expands the output that you have,
Yeah.
in the form of energy, in the form of efficiency. And so that's where I've found that so many people, including myself, have seen the biggest transformation starts in the kitchen. And like I've had 20-year-old guys who are like, I don't want to learn to cook. I'm like, well, you don't need to like really learn to cook, but like you do, need to know how to feed yourself. Like it
Yeah.
isn't like kids menu and McDonald's and shakes forever. And those are the guys that are like, holy cow, I did not realize how much of my transformation in the gym happens from the kitchen.
Yeah. The biggest
And
transformation in the kitchen. That's awesome. Yeah.
and anything physically is going to be represented with health. So you need health as a foundation before performance is going to be impacted. So it's like critical to focus on that if performance is at all important to somebody. And again, performance can be physical, it can be professional, it can be like that mental, emotional piece, being on your A game,
Mhm.
being sharp. But health is the foundation of that because what's the foundation of disease? Inflammation. And so that's
Yeah.
why I said fasting insulin, get that checked, And then there's all those other inflammatory markers, like you mentioned, the C reactive protein, the hemoglobin A1C, which is your average blood sugar over 3 months. There's several others, but I think the easiest one to ask for that's going to tell you real quick is my body processing the sugars efficiently, or is it struggling and trying to send it to fat because my blood vessels are going to get damaged
Wow.
without that?
That is so good. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to put that mypeak365.com. I'll put all of that in the show notes. So people are looking for that. I'll put the hyperlink in. They click, they'll go right to your site. You have time for a couple fun questions before we wrap
Yeah,
up?
let's do it.
Cool, cool. All right. First off, Katie, you got 2 kids, 3 dogs. You got to practice. You got MyPeak365. You're coaching athletes. You're coaching people. They're great health. When you need to clear your mind and recharge your body, what do you do?
Okay. I'm going to answer this 2 ways. I love mountain biking because I just love being like flowing through the trees. Like
Yeah.
it's just so peaceful. And I've now learned, like I used to like go for a run to decompress. Well, that's layering a stress on a stress. So I'm much more mindful now that I'm doing that when my body has capacity. The flip side, if I know I'm more on the depleted side and I like didn't build that ride into part of my like training program, is like a yin yoga,
Yeah.
which I used to resist. And
Yeah.
usually the things you resist are the things your body actually needs, right?
I am resisting yin. They have a yin at Sunday. They have the school I'm at. It's like 7 o'clock Sunday night to chill you out before the week starts.
Hmm.
And I never go because I just think
Yeah.
it's not hard enough. But yeah,
No, it's not
so
supposed, that's the point.
yeah,
It's like to be present and like it's like I always come at things physically, right? Strength and
yeah,
conditioning background. So I'm like, oh, this is really good for the fascia and the
yeah,
connective tissue and all the
yeah,
things that support the physical activities. It's probably more for the mental, emotional side, just to
yeah.
calm the nervous system because it has to calm down. It has to come down to be able to push up and push hard.
That's so good. How about this, Katie? We spoke about mouth taping, nutrition, weightlifting, energy management, sleep, my Peak 365, weighted vests. We're all over the place. If you could have everyone listening take just one lesson away from everything we discussed, what would that lesson be?
As they start tuning into what your body's actually telling you. It's telling us something all the time, and we're so conditioned to push through, ignore, tune it out, and just start observing what your body's telling you because it knows. We
Uh,
just ignore it.
that's so good. All right, so 2 fun questions to wrap all this up. I asked this to all the guests.
Okay.
First question, Katie. If you could spend the day with anyone, famous or not famous, alive or dead, who would you spend the day with?
Do you know Jack Carr?
He's the writer. Yeah,
He's a
he's an author with like the
yeah.
he's kind of like James Patterson a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
former
Yeah,
he's a former Navy SEAL.
yeah,
He committed like once he retired to write a book, and I heard him interviewed on Rogan like probably I don't know 7 years ago,
yeah,
and he sounded like Vince Flynn, who's like an author that I liked at
yeah,
that
yeah. I know
time.
Vince Vaughn, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, oh, I gotta check out his book, and so he wrote fiction books, right? And it's like based upon all his experience, and I love his writing style. And then he also writes nonfiction. So I just finished this one called Beirut. It's targeted Beirut, like terrorist.
they're advertising that on Instagram
Are
right
they?
now. Yeah,
Um,
that's it. That's the book. Is it good?
yeah. Yeah, well, so I was like 2 when all that happened. So it's like I
Yeah,
didn't learn about it because I was 2, but it also wasn't yet in our history books because it was
yeah,
too recent.
yeah.
And it was kind of fascinating. So I think he's just has like a fascinating life experience and then has this like art of like putting those things into a story that's absolutely intriguing, but it's like weaving in
Yeah.
facts and things. And I just think he'd be so interesting to like just shoot the shit with. You
That'd be
could, yeah,
I'd
I
be
would love
so
that.
I'd be wild. His books are amazing, and
Yeah, have you read them?
I've have friends that read his books that love them, and
Yeah.
that Beirut book has been on my list of things to
Okay, do
get.
it.
Is that about the barracks? Is it about like the Marine Corps
Yeah.
barracks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys could hang out. How would you spend the day with him?
Oh God. I mean, I would just love to like hear all of his stories. So
Yeah,
go
yeah.
for like, yeah,
No kidding.
hang
Yeah,
out.
that sounds great. The last question, Katie Hardie. If you had to get a quote or a saying tattooed on your body, what would that quote or motto say?
Breathe.
Breathe.
You can control so much physiology through your breath, whether you want to bring it up or bring it down. And I think it's so basic, and so many people just like don't intentionally focus on it.
Wow, that is fantastic. Breathe. I think breathe is about as good as a spot as any to wrap this up. The guest is Katie Hardie. The website is My Peak 365. Check it out. Katie, thank you so much for all your advice, your wisdom. If people are looking for you and what you do online, where can we find you? Where's the best place to go?
Instagram, I'm at peak my peak 365. That's also my website. So those are probably the best spots. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll put your LinkedIn, your IG, and your website all in the
Perfect.
show notes, linked up. Click that, go right to Katie, find all her great work. Katie, thanks so much for joining. I'm glad we finally pulled this off. So
Yeah,
great to
Joe,
see
this
you.
was awesome. Thank you for having it. Super fun.
Keep doing great work. What are you working on now? What's your next project?
Next project. Well, I'll be getting ready for my fall cleanse challenge, so you should come do that.
I
It's three
will.
weeks.
All right, I
It's
will.
all food lifestyle.
Okay, I'll reach
Like
out to you.
people have crazy transformations. Like this
Okay,
woman dropped her blood pressure so much her doctor, like within like the first 2 weeks, her doctor's like, you gotta like have your blood pressure medicine. People are
really.
like losing inches around their waist, like body fat, their energy's like blowing up,
All
like
right,
sleeping through the night. So I'm
I'll
just
reach.
like dialing that in a little tighter is what I'm working on.
I'll send you a message. I want to get into that. I'm gonna check that out. I've never done one of them. So it's this fall.
Well, it's not fast. It's not like juices. It's not like
Yeah,
everybody's scared about the word cleanse.
yeah.
It's basically just eating real stuff and being
Cool.
mindful of recovery.
I can do that. Absolutely. I'm in. Yeah,
Supporting your liver.
I'm not a juice cleanse dude, but
No,
I
no,
can
I'm
definitely eat
not
some real
either.
food. Yeah, yeah.
I like to chew my food,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I'll be in touch with that. But it's so great to see you. Thank you. Good luck. Keep doing great work. And definitely let's keep in touch.
that's for sure.